This is going to be a really great series because both sides have got so much to play for. There's been so little cricket played in Pakistan that I'm expecting huge crowds to turn out to support their team. The Aussie boys will be, really keen to sort of put on a good show. And I just think, you've got to pencil in your diary all the dates of those Test matches because I think back here in Australia and just the cricketing world, the opportunity to sit back and watch some great cricket on television.
A big deal. Australia is coming to Pakistan after 24 years और बड़ी competitive साइड है. अभी वर्ल्ड कप भी जीते हैं, अभी एशेज में भी इंग्लैंड को मारा है. इससे पाकिस्तान की क्रिकेट इंप्रूव होगी.
1998 that Australia were last in Pakistan. So that's even before my last tour there, which was that famous game in the dark in Karachi in 2000, 2001. So it's great news that Australia are going to be sending a full strength or as near as damn it full strength team to Pakistan.
पीसीबी पॉडकास्ट की 38वीं किस्त में खुशामदीद. मैं हूं आपका मेज़बान इब्राहिम बादिस. सामीन, पीसीबी पॉडकास्ट की इस खुसूसी किस्त में हम जिक्र करेंगे ऑस्ट्रेलिया के 24 साल बाद दौरे पाकिस्तान का, जिस पर गुफ्तगू करने के लिए हमने ऑस्ट्रेलिया के साबिक कप्तान एलन बॉर्डर को दावत दी, जिन्होंने इस तारीखी दौरे पर तबादला ख्याल करते हुए कहा,
It's a wonderful country, and the passion that the Pakistan population has for the game. I mean, obviously you want your team to win. I mean, that goes without saying. But I think there's a great appreciation for good cricket. So if you go to Pakistan and embrace the culture, embrace the food, embrace everything that is a bit of an eye opener if you're touring Pakistan for the first time. If you embrace that, I think you'll get more out of the tour. So that's what I'd be telling the Aussie boys, not to get negative about little subtle differences of how people live their lives. Just embrace the differences between how we live and do things and how the Pakistan population do things. So from that point of view, just embrace it and you'll enjoy it and get a lot more out of the tour if you do so. And if you do that, you'll have a wonderful time. As simple as that. Especially Test cricket. I mean, it's under threat, isn't it? Because of the short form of the game. I mean, 50 over cricket is still very popular, but the new revolution of the game, if you like, is 2020 cricket, and so many countries are embracing that form of the game. And for me as a traditional cricket lover, I really passionate about trying to keep Test cricket alive, and to have tours like this are just absolutely vital to the survival of the game. I don't know how much cricket you saw in Australia this year between Australia and England, the Ashes. I think the amount of good cricket that was played, and there's not many games like Test cricket that can sort of grip you like those games did, and just the way the games ebbed and flowed. Obviously, Australia had the upper hand in most of the games, but there were moments where the game was teetering. I think Test cricket offers that in comparison to the 20-over game, where it's batsman dominated and it's all about the power game. There's nuances that only Test cricket can bring. So I think it's really important, this tour. The Australians go to Pakistan. The population gets a chance to see, what the true game is about, and just see how Test cricket is a bit more of a slow burn to a crescendo, as we know. It can take 3, 4, 5 days to get your result, but it can be some compelling viewing. And I just think that tours like this are very, very important to keep Test match cricket alive and flourishing. So I think you've got to play against each other a lot to develop rivalries. So I mean, you can't have years and years of separation. You need to have groups of core groups of cricketers. Like say the core group of Australian cricket team. Warner, Smith, Cummins, Hazlewood, etc. Playing against your sort of core guys. And if you're playing a home and away series every couple of years, I mean, you really develop a fantastic rivalry like we did. And I think back to my period where we played Pakistan 79-80 in Pakistan, and then what was just the next year we played in Australia, 3 Test series, then back in 1982, came back to your country in 82. Pakistan were back in Australia, and then we back in Pakistan in 1988. And a lot of those core cricketers were playing all those games against each other. So there's rivalries start. You know, Javed Miandad, Dennis Lilly had fantastic, rivalries going between batsman and bowler. There was always something happening out on the field with the rivalries that were developed, and some of it, okay, it maybe tips over the edge as to what's should and shouldn't happen, but at the end of the day, it makes really good viewing, really good competition, and the cricket, you'd have to say, when I think back that some of the cricket that we played against each other was just phenomenal. I think back to Sarfraz at the MCG. We ended up taking 9 wickets. I mean, we had that game in the bag. Myself and Kim Hughes were batting, 3 for 300 and something at tea time, and only needing another 50 runs. The wicket's still playing well, and all of a sudden Sarfraz gets the ball, starts moving around, wicket. All of a sudden, Pakistan win the game very easily. I mean, that sort of drama, I mean, it's hard to replicate in any other form of the game. So, yeah, I think about the rivalries have been fantastic. We've had so many good players that have played against each other for a good period of time. And, I'm still very friendly with, Javed, Imran. Don't see him as much these days because he's got a pretty big job to do. But, back in the day, we used to, cross paths pretty regularly. Madassar Nazar, Asif Iqbal. There's a heap of guys that that we cross paths over the years and remain very strong friends to this day. I think it's almost perfect timing because you've got an emerging Pakistan side. A lot of the names we won't have heard too much about here in Australia, but you see bits and pieces through 2020 cricket or different games that we've played against each other in recent times that you get the feeling that Pakistan are really starting to emerge as a really real strong, particularly Test match side. We know how good they've been in the short form, but the Test match arena will be an area where I think some of these young players will really enjoy, because what I've noticed personally, just as a student of the game, if you like, is some of the techniques. Your guys with some magnificent batting technique. That's what I've really noticed, that right through your top 6 or 7 players, the technique that they have is just brilliant. I mean, when I look at some of the England boys when they come to Australia, their techniques are just odd, and lots of flaws that you can pick up. Whereas the Pakistani boys, they've been very well coached, and we see that through the 17s and 19s, don't we? Those age groups. So you've got a great, groundswell of youngsters coming into the game, and they just need Test series like this to be able to sort of show their true worth. So, and I think the bowling side of the equation, you've got some good young fast bowlers there. If they all stay fit and healthy, that's the hard part with young fast bowlers. I'm not too sure about the spin options. We've got a couple of decent leggies, and I'm sure there'll be some young talent that you'll spring on the Aussies for sure. But and then on the other side of the equation, the Australians, they've got a pretty good core group together now under Pat Cummins. They're very sort of hardened side. They played some good hard cricket in recent times. They've had some success, so they'll fancy their chances. But I know Pakistan will be very, very hard to beat in their own backyard. I've experienced that many times. So I don't think Pat Cummins will go to Pakistan with any delusions of grandeur. He'll know that it's going to be very, very tough. I'm so impressed with Babar Azam. I think he's technically one of the better players. That he's so pleasant on the eye to watch build an innings. Unfortunately, we don't see him play a lot of Test cricket or long form cricket. It's all 20 or 50 over game. But you can just see that there's a technique there that is just perfectly purpose built for Test cricket. So if he can mentally play the long form of the game, so in other words, set himself to bat for hours, not overs and balls, bat for hours, because you don't have to watch, you don't have to worry about runs per ball or runs per over in Test cricket so much. If he bats for any length of time, he's going to score some serious runs because technically he's as good as it gets. I think Freddie I haven't seen a lot of, but I'm wary because I know he will be very very good when it comes to the crunch games. I suppose it's going to be interesting because we haven't seen a lot of the Pakistani boys playing the long form of the game, and as we know, it's very different. One thing to be going out and whacking the white ball around or bowling the white ball just 4 or 5 overs here and there, but it's a bit different when you're backing up spell after spell after spell as a young fast bowler. It's very very wearing. So it'll be interesting to see how the young Pakistan team copes with the rigours of playing 3 hard Test matches back to back. As a young Australian going to Pakistan, it was a real eye opener. Just seeing the cultural differences. I mean, you talk about the food. I mean, up to that stage, I don't think I'd ever had a curry. So that just little things like that. Just how you get by just with your diet. The training facilities are very very different, and then the actual the people that such incredible fans that you have in Pakistan. I mean, it's just it's a bit intimidating at times as a youngster when you first travel to Pakistan because the passion that your country has for the cricket, and it's something to sort of stand there and face Imran Khan when he's rushing in to bowl, and there's a crowd getting surging behind him. It's just a very very daunting experience from the cricket point of view. Sightseeing, we didn't get a lot of chance, as you can imagine. You're on a cricket tour, so you don't get a chance to sightsee too much. But I do remember Majid Khan taking us out pheasant shooting one time. I don't know whether it was his property or a family friend's property out of Lahore. And you can imagine 12 or so mad Aussies with shotguns. The pheasants didn't stand a chance. So that was one memory I do have of life away from cricket, where we actually got all very excited about going out on a pheasant shoot. But luckily the pheasants survived the day, but we had a lot of fun with Majid Khan going back many many years. That was something that I enjoyed away from the game of cricket. In that particular tour in 1979-80. Yeah, so I'd be very surprised if Imran doesn't show up at some of the games, particularly in Lahore, the Lahore Test match. I'd love to come and just have a sandwich with the boss and talk about the good old days. But definitely, I mean, I'm not sure how you guys in Pakistan are rating your own team or how you're rating the Australian team, but look, I know from personal experience, when you visit any country, doesn't matter who, they always are tough to beat in their own country. It doesn't matter, you might be ranked 1 and that country is ranked 7 or 8. It doesn't matter. It's you want to defend your own patch. And I know Pakistan is a very proud country. They'll be very, they'll be up for the series. There's no doubt that there'll be a lot of hype. I can imagine what's going on already. We're only a few weeks away, really, aren't we, before the Test match to start? So it'll get hyped, and the passion that those young boys will find themselves, they'll be up for the contest for sure. So I don't see the Test series being one-sided at all. I think it'll be a very even contest. It'll ebb and flow, and then just the little things, as we know, a catch here, a dismissal here, or some sort of brain explosion, can change the course of games pretty quickly. So I think it'll be that sort of series. It'll ebb and flow very very easily throughout the course of the 5 days. Yeah, well, I think there's a huge opportunity when I think both sides, from the Australians' point of view. I mean, we haven't had a lot of success in the subcontinent. We haven't had. I was trying to look at some past records, Australian teams in Pakistan, and when I go back to 1956 or something, where Australia won 1-0, was it, or Pakistan won that series, and it was 2-0 to Australia in '59. But I think Australia won about 3 or 4 Test matches out of the whole time that we've been touring Pakistan. So that's not a great record. So from the Australian point of view, it'd be great from their point of view that someone stands up, or 2 or 3 players, really put their hand up and say, we conquered Pakistan in Pakistan. It's something a lot of really good sides haven't been able to do. Conversely, Pakistan, a young side, haven't played a lot of Test cricket, playing against a very good Australian side. 2 or 3 of those guys can sort of set themselves up, in this legendary sort of status for saying, how good did those young players? They went from boys to men just on a couple of performances in that Test series. So, to me, Test cricket still creates the persona. I don't think it happens in 2020 cricket quite the same. We've seen great players come out of 2020 cricket, but I still think you make your name in the Test match arena. So that's the opportunity for both sides, for different reasons. Australia's probably lack of success against Pakistan in Pakistan, and Pakistan, emerging young team, haven't played against Australia in Pakistan for 24 years. Here's the opportunity, boys, to really make a name for yourself. Well, I think the message is, look, hold on to your hats, because this is going to be a really great series, because both sides have got so much to play for. There's been so little cricket played in Pakistan that I'm expecting huge crowds to turn out to support their team. The Aussie boys will be, really keen to sort of put on a good show. And I just think, you've got to pencil in your diary all the dates of those Test matches, because I think back here in Australia and just the cricketing world, the opportunity to sit back and watch some great cricket on television and see some young stars emerge, or older stars cement their reputations, it's going to be some really good viewing. And I'm just expecting the cricket to be so good. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. So from a cricket lovers' point of view, I think it's going to be a hell of a series, and tune in. Wherever we are in the world, we've all got the ability to sort of find the cricket on a platform somewhere. Don't miss it. It's going to be special.
पाकिस्तान के साबिक कप्तान वसीम अकरम के ख्यालात भी एलन बॉर्डर से मुख्तलिफ नहीं। उन्हें भी सीरीज के दौरान दोनों टीमों से कांटेदार मुकाबले की तवक्को है।
A big deal. Australia is coming to Pakistan after 24 years और बड़ी कंपेटिटिव साइड है। अभी वर्ल्ड कप भी जीते हैं, अभी एशेज में भी इंग्लैंड को मारा है। इससे पाकिस्तान की क्रिकेट इंप्रूव होगी। इनको देख के हम भी ऐसे मोटिवेट हुए हैं, ग्राउंडों में जाके प्लेयर्स को सामने देख के। और आई थिंक कंग्रेचुलेशंस टू PCB कि इतना ज़बरदस्त चीज़ हो रही है। अभी मैं पढ़ ही रहा था कल कि फुल स्ट्रेंथ टीम आएगी। दैट्स अनदर गुड साइन फॉर पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट। हमारी तीसरी PSL पाकिस्तान में हो रही है। फॉरेनर्स लव इट। ओके, सिक्योरिटी है। मैं उनको बताता हूँ, समझाता हूँ कि वी पाकिस्तानीज़ वी आर जस्ट टू कॉशियस नाउ, वी डोंट वांट टू रिस्क एनीथिंग, दैट्स व्हाई हैंस द सिक्योरिटी फॉर यू गाइज एंड दे अंडरस्टैंड। इस वक्त ऑस्ट्रेलिया को मैं एडवांटेज समझूंगा, और इस पे इन पिचों पे भी, बिकॉज वो रिवर्स स्विंग खेलते भी अच्छे हैं अब, और वो सारे फ्रंट फुट पे खेलते हैं। देखिए, बैटिंग में तो एक ही नाम स्ट्रेट वे आता है ना आपका, बाबर आजम और रिजवान तो 6-7 पे बैटिंग करेगा टेस्ट मैच में, बाबर 4 पे आएगा। बैटिंग में ये 2 लग रहे हैं मुझे, और बॉलिंग में ऑब्वियसली शाहीन पाकिस्तान के नहीं दुनिया का बेहतरीन बॉलर है, हाईएस्ट विकेट टेकर है, हर फॉर्मेट में विकेट लेता है। तो मुझे वो टेस्ट मैच ज़रूर याद है जो मुशीर इंजमाम क्या ज़बरदस्त बैटिंग की। मुशीर उसने 60 रन की पार्टनरशिप लगाई। फाइनली 15 साल बाद मुशी का जो ये था कि मैं बड़ा अच्छा बैट्समैन हूँ, जो कि उसका हाई स्कोर 0 होता था, उसने उस मैच में दिखाया कि वो बैटिंग कर सकता है। और क्या इनसी का स्टंप छूटा, क्या इन्हें हेनरी ने छोड़ा, और क्या फिर ऊपर हमने सेलिब्रेशंस की। ऐसे लग रहा है जैसे कल की बात थी। क्या याद करा दिया आपने यार।
इंग्लैंड के साबिक कप्तान माइकल एथरटन भी क्रिकेट ऑस्ट्रेलिया के दौरे पाकिस्तान के इस तारीखी फैसले से खुश हैं, और वो दुनिया की 2 बेहतरीन टीमों के माबैन रेड और वाइट बॉल क्रिकेट के सनसनीखेज मुकाबले देखने के लिए पुरजोश हैं।
It's a long time, isn't it? Is it 1998 that Australia were last in Pakistan? So that's even before my last tour there, which was that famous game in the dark in Karachi in 2000, 2001. So it's great news that Australia are going to be sending a full strength, or as near as damn it full strength team to Pakistan. As you know, I've long supported the return of cricket to Pakistan. Once the security people say it's safe to go, I think it's incumbent upon teams to go and play in Pakistan. Clearly, playing in UAE, which was necessary for a period of time, is not sustainable in the long term. And it's great that Pakistan cricket supporters can see international cricket being played at home in Pakistan. I was really disappointed, as you know, that England pulled out of their tour of Pakistan, only a 4-day tour before the World T20. I was really upset by that stance, and I'm clearly hoping that England will come as well in 2022 for their scheduled full tour of Pakistan as well. Australia's players haven't been to Pakistan for such a long time, 1998, so many of them will have no idea about the country and about the people within Pakistan. But I think cricketers are very good at opening their mind and being quite open-minded and accepting, because that's what they're used to. I mean, Australia in the last couple of years in the pandemic haven't travelled and played that much, but of course their players before that were doing plenty of travelling, and cricketers get used to it. Mainly, they enjoy the travel, because if you don't enjoy the travel, it becomes a very difficult job given the amount of it. So I think you find that cricketers generally are broad-minded, open-minded, and enjoy that kind of getting out of their comfort zone and developing themselves. Well, just from the point that we mentioned earlier, really, the ability of supporters within the country to see not only their own heroes from Pakistan playing, but also from Australia, who, as you say, they haven't seen for a couple of decades or more. I remember in that program that we did a couple of years ago about the return of cricket to Pakistan, sitting down with Azhar Ali in the stadium in Lahore, and him telling us that he played 80-odd test matches, I think, before his first one on home soil. So for the players, for the supporters, spectators, clearly it's going to be a terrific tour to watch. I'll certainly be keeping an eye on it from here. And as I say, hoping to get down there towards the end of 2022 for England's tour. Yeah, absolutely. Two good teams, two particularly good bowling attacks, I think. So I'm hoping that the pitches are just a little bit more lively than they were when I was there last 20 odd years ago, when they were like batting on slabs of concrete, really. Nothing much happened. But yeah, two very good teams. Australia looked a top-class outfit against England, particularly their bowling, led by Pat Cummins. An excellent seam bowling attack. Whether they'll have to slightly balance their team differently in Pakistan, I don't know. But Pakistan obviously got some serious performers of their own as well. So, two excellent sides. Should be an excellent series. Is the Test series November, when England are due to come to Pakistan after the next World T20 in Australia? So fingers crossed that can get down for that and hopefully watch England win in Pakistan again.
इसी के साथ पीसीबी पॉडकास्ट की ये किस्त अपने ख़िताम को पहुंची। अपने मेज़बान इब्राहिम बादीस को इजाज़त दीजिए। मज़ीद तफसीलात के लिए विज़िट कीजिए pcb.com.pk।